Calaroga Shark Media.
We'll do spoilers for the Louis C.K. special after the break. Okay, everybody? Hi, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Late night is off this week, but I had the late bot write some jokes. It's so hot. Trump announced he's building a wall to keep the heat out. In New York City, Mayor Mamdani wants to tax billionaires to cool down the city. The billionaires flew to their second homes in the Hamptons, which kind of proved his point. It's so hot, Nate Bargatze performed at another Trump event just for the air conditioning, and it is so hot that Louis C.K. is not wearing pants, but to be fair, that's not entirely weather-related. Ricky Gervais has a big news story, and I would tell you about it here, but I didn't actually paste it into the script, and I could edit this out, but that's no fun. Where did you go, Gervais story? Here it is. Ricky Gervais skips the Office co-star reunion for solo anniversary show. I just find it's more fun not to do the edits. A source told The Sun. Now, again, that's a newspaper. Sources don't usually talk to the big yellow thing in the sky making things hot. But a source has told The Sun that Ricky Gervais' decision is a huge blow as it taints the BBC's celebration somewhat. The BBC is making a documentary to celebrate 25 years since The Office arrived. Mackenzie, Crook, and Martin Freeman, who played Gareth and Tim, which are roughly Dwight and Jim for you Americans, will reminisce about the sitcom in the BBC celebration. Ricky Gervais will not be part of it. He's decided to film his own documentary. The source speaking to the newspaper The Sun said it just sums up his lack of allegiance towards the Beeb, which has been drifting for some time now. A representative for Ricky Gervais told The Independent that Ricky was, quote, not available, hogwash, says Johnny Mac, to take part in the documentary, but remains in contact with the BBC all the time about The Office. The BBC declined to comment. Gervais announced last week he'll be celebrating 25 years of The Office with a documentary on his own YouTube channel. That version will appear Thursday, July 9th, which I'm going to add to my script right now before I forget. And that is good news for me, because week after July 4th is a slow news week. Thank you, Ricky Gervais. Sorry, BBC. Gervais' rep told The Independent that Ricky's YouTube content will be an affectionate look back at The Office on this big anniversary. Meanwhile, the BBC's Mackenzie, Crook, and Martin Freeman remember The Office. That'll be on BBC Two and iPlayer Wednesday, July 8th at 10 p.m. Johnny Mac once again says thank you, because week after July 4th is a slow news week. Thank you, guys. Not only content, but a controversy. This is fantastic. Can you guys fight some more? Maybe say mean things about each other in the press. Please do not be civil. Johnny Mac has content holes. Back in 2019, Ricky Gervais insisted he was still a fan of the BBC, but said, I wish it wouldn't bow down to pressure from media or from one complaint. That's gotten worse, and the days are gone when people say, we're leaving it as it is. Commissioning editors are scared of being fired. How hot is it? It's so hot, I got to prop open the door here in the office before I pass out. For Weird Al, it's all about the integrity. Mr. Yankovic told Syracuse.com that he's not a big fan of AI, and he's willing to put his money where his mouth is. Al says he was offered a, quote, nice pile of money to start a commercial for what he was told was business software that would increase productivity. Al says, then a week before we're supposed to shoot it, I found out, oh, this is AI, and I thought, oh no, I can't be the poster boy for AI, forget it. Dave Chappelle visited a mosque in California where 3 people were killed in a recent shooting. He met with community members and encouraged support for the families affected by the attack. Dave's official Instagram shared a video in which Dave traveled to the mosque to pay his respects. On Monday, May 18th, a mass shooting at the Islamic Center of San Diego left a security guard and 2 community members dead. During his visit, Chappelle met with members of the congregation and highlighted ongoing fundraising efforts to support the victims' families. Trevor Noah on his podcast had guest Don Lemon on. They started discussing the backlash surrounding Kevin Hart's Netflix roast. Trevor Noah said, I felt like it was weird that all the black comedians who came on stage told jokes about the people who were there, but then a lot of the white comedians who came on told jokes about black people. I was like, wait. I thought it was the roast of Kevin Hart. On your television today, if you're watching General Hospital and you're like, is that John Oliver? It is. There's even a trailer.
I've got to get Jocelyn out of Windermere now. My work is done. I've completed the prototype.
Nathan isn't who he says he is.
John Oliver guest stars. General Hospital on ABC.
John Oliver had announced the casting on the June 28th episode of Last Week Tonight. General Hospital executive producer Frank Valenti said in a statement, when John Oliver publicly threw down the gauntlet and said he wanted to appear on a soap, we didn't hesitate for a second. It was everything he'd hoped for. Prepared, professional, funny, and genuinely kind to everyone on set. He plays an integral character in the story, and I can't wait for fans to see who he crosses paths with within Port Charles. General Hospital is now on its 64th year. You'll find it on ABC and Hulu. John Oliver said, General Hospital was everything I hoped it would be. It's a true honor to be a small stain on the history of this illustrious show. Also today, The Onion starts rolling out its first wave of official Infowars shows. You may recall they acquired the property from the previous owner, Tim Heidecker, now the face of it. Heidecker said, I think most satire gets old pretty quickly, and we don't want to keep fueling previous owners. So the plan is to goof on him for a few months and have fun with it, and then transition the site into a comedy streaming platform for people that he would hate to see have success. Heidecker stressed this is a soft launch. He told IndieWire everything will still live on The Onion because a standalone Infowars website and social media channel has yet to be set up. The programming will be heavy on parodying previous owner and his right-wing media counterparts. Heidecker says, we're launching a couple shows. One is my extension of my emergency broadcast from a month or so ago, sort of a parody of the previous world. And we're launching The Onion's Jim Haggerty show that we've been teasing for a while now. That'll all set the tone for the summer. Where this is heading, Heidecker said, I think it's very much comedians and artists and creators, I guess you'd say, who are using their experience and our experience with the internet as the fuel and inspiration for their comedy. It's very much people that are using the tools of social media and satirizing that or reflecting that. On social media, Michael Che posted, Happy B-Day to my good buddy Colin Jost. I think back to all the stupid fights we had throughout the years, like when you came to work with that racist puppet, or when you kept doing Nazi salutes to our fans on tour, or when you got our first magazine cover canceled because I was making stupid faces, or when you insisted on getting R. Kelly on the show, or when you took me to that whites-only store, when you got us beat up at WrestleMania, or all the times I had to stand there and listen to you and Scarlett argue at work, and I had to stand there and be like, okay. Or when Harry Styles gave us flowers and you gaslit me because I don't think he likes me and you got all mad because he got us the exact same thing, you're just being reverse racist again. Or that time when the FBI thought we were dating. None of that matters today because we're still pals and still the best update anchors besides Norm, Tina, Amy, Jimmy, Seth, Chevy, Jane, Aykroyd, Miller, Nealon, and Quinn. And I'll argue that with anybody. The remainder of today's program will be reaction pieces to Louis C.K.'s new special. There will be spoilers. If you don't want to be spoiled, why don't you come back tomorrow? For everybody else, The Guardian gave it 2 stars out of 5. Their headline, Ridiculous Review. Ridiculous is the name of the special. The troubled comedian returns with a whimper. Jesse Hassinger writes, Louis C.K.'s back again. It's been nearly a decade since the comedian, etc., etc. You know that story. It's less a triumphant return than a gradual slinking back, an unspoken assumption that no one really cares that much about his behavior. No particular defense or apology, just a shrugging emoticon. A genuinely funny observation like, I can't be held responsible for what I dream. I'm not a good guy in my dreams. Doesn't hit as squarely as it should, because we've already heard extensively about him doing bad guy stuff in real life. It's also hard to avoid reading some moments intended as self-deprecating or honest, as when he talks about not having much sex recently and primarily dating women his own age as a kind of tacit burnishing of his regular shrub cred, positioning himself as essentially harmless. Maybe this isn't fair. There are plenty of comedians who haven't been given the opportunity to assess whether their dark side is being downplayed or set to the side for the sake of a funny bit. But it's the reality Louis C.K. lives in. The disconnect, the lack of shared reality, accounts for some, but not all of the special's halting, uneven quality. It has brilliant stretches, to be sure. The review then gets into some specifics there, and then skipping ahead. Elsewhere, he relies on dopey shock laughs. In past specials, at least some of those shocks would stem more carefully from a logical progression, almost trapping the audience into laughing at something taboo. Here, the set just feels like blunt force mischief, almost obligatory in their pushing of some imagined envelope. Louis C.K. is clearly capable of more than this, and Ridiculous has flashes of his writer's flair for crystallizing what could be standard comedian's laments into something more vividly relatable. For Slate, Imogene West Knight writes, the material in this new special isn't nasty and bitter as some of the material he was doing immediately after his cancellation was. It's classic C.K., superficially offensive, but actually taking a kind of gleefully amoral route to the morally defensible positions, and funny too. You can tell from his onstage affect that 2017 is a long time ago from his perspective, but what about from ours, as the audience? What is supposed to happen after somebody gets canceled? There are things C.K. could have done to enact a better redemption and didn't. The problem is so much C.K.'s being on television now, 9 years after his disgrace. He was always going to return. He's simply too profitable and too famous to be put out to pasture. The problem is what he's been doing in the interim. Skipping ahead, I wonder how people would feel about it had he genuinely gone quiet and taken the long time he proposed in his initial statement about the accusations to step back and listen. Back in 2018, Slate's Christina Cauterucci wrote this prediction. Every time CK or one of his canceled peers reemerges, some people will get mad, but most people won't. There will be other more pressing outrages to smother with energy, and before anyone fully grasps what's going on, they'll be back on tour or rolling through the credits of our TV shows and movies with an ugly entry on their Wikipedia pages, but a growing bank account to soothe that indignity. The Wrap writes, there's no mention of Louis C.K.'s once perceived downfall in this one-hour comedy special, which finds the man a little older, not exactly wiser, but with a bit of a glint in his eyes. Clearly enjoying his time on the stage, C.K.'s audience eats out of the palm of his hand while he regales them with personal stories and his desire to never get plastic surgery to his face. Variety says C.K. is one of the most gifted and influential performers of his generation and would remain so even if he never took the stage again. So when I say Ridiculous is a strong hour of material performed with practiced expertise, it shouldn't come as a surprise. Skipping ahead, Variety writes about Netflix. When the company's stand-up czar Robbie Praw told my Variety colleague this is just about giving subscribers an option and that viewers have a decision to make about their own personal viewing habits, he was downplaying the decision Netflix itself made to re-enter a business relationship with CK. The release of Ridiculous also culminates a tour that saw CK make inroads with the kind of liberal-coded publications that once covered his reputational nadir with favorable write-ups in both the Times and the New Yorker. And IndieWire gave the special a C-. They write in Ridiculous, the remnants of his former inquisitive committed self are all but gone. His set doesn't build enough to be rewarding in the aggregate, and his individual riffs keep stopping short of real wisdom. It's terribly sad that Netflix is platforming Louis C.K. again, just as it's terribly sad that there are enough people attending his shows to make a return to mainstream media possible. It's also sad to see C.K. so trapped creatively and emotionally, but nowhere near as sad as knowing he physically and emotionally trapped others. Then he lied about it, got caught, and now carries on as if nothing happened. I have not seen the special yet. It is Tuesday as I record this. I'm trying to work ahead this week into the holiday weekend. It was my plan to watch the special on Tuesday night and include it one way or another in Sunday's episode, which would be the top specials of the year so far. So I'll probably on Sunday tell you what I thought of Louis C.K. Ridiculous, now streaming on Netflix. And that is your comedy news for today. You can follow the show on Spotify. Turn notifications on so you never miss an episode, and I'll see you here tomorrow.